Deep in the shadowy forest of New England and eastern Canada, where mist curls around ancient trees and forgotten trails vanish into silence, there are whispers of a people not quite human. The Abenaki call them Kwantew, but you may know them as the Spreaders. They're small but powerful guardians of balance, tricksters of the wilds, and sometimes bringers of ruin. Tonight, we're digging deep into their legend, their strange appearance, their purpose in Abenaki folklore, chilling stories of old and even modern encounters that suggest these little people may still be watching you today. So what do the Kwantew look like? Witnesses both in legend and in modern sightings describe them as small, no taller than a child. Their skin resembles the bark of trees, rough and rigid, in shades of brown, gray, or even green, the perfect camouflage against the forest. But their eyes are what truly sets them apart. Large, luminous, and unearthly, elders say their color reveals their mood. Pale green when they're feeling playful, golden when offering wisdom, and burning red when angered. Some accounts claim their hands are long and clawed, strong enough to carve stone or cut roots with ease, and yet others speak of staffs they carry, etched with runes, allowing them to channel the very forces of growth and decay. And their clothing, when they wear it, is woven from moss, leaves, and hides, garments that change with the season, just as the forest does. The Spreaders are tied to the wild places of the Northeast, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and southern Quebec. They appear most often at nature's crossroads, riverbanks, forest clearings, or the borders between the fields and the wild woods. These liminal places, where two worlds meet, are their chosen grounds. But here's where things start to get unsettling. Even modern witnesses claim they linger near forgotten stone walls, abandoned farmhouses, and trails left to the wilderness. Where human presence fades, the Spreaders return to reclaim the wild. The Spreaders' powers and abilities go far beyond mere mischief. They can scatter seeds with their breath and accelerate the growth of mosses and even twist the flows of rivers. In this way, they act as shapers of the wilderness, ensuring its balance and survival. But they can also spread confusion. Hunters who insult them may find themselves wandering in endless circles, their paths twisting back upon themselves. Fishermen who disrespect the rivers find their nets mysteriously empty for weeks or torn to shreds in open water. And their darkest aspect, they spread illness itself. Elders warn that if the Kwantew were enraged, fevers and wasting illnesses would seep into the bones of those who had angered them. Yet they're not only punishing spirits. Families who honored them with offerings of cornmeal, sweetgrass, or tobacco often found their hunts fruitful, their fields fertile, and their health strong. The Spreaders then serve as guardians of balance, rewarding respect, punishing arrogance, and reminding humanity that the land must never be taken for granted. One legend tells of a hunter who mocked the Kwantew, boasting that his own skill was what provided for his family. And after his providing failed over and over, his hunts were turned into desperate and wild sprints into the wilderness, hoping to see any kind of creature. And that winter, no game came near his traps. When he did see something, his arrow shattered against trees. The rest of the village knew he had purposely angered the Spreaders and hesitated to offer him any help. Starvation for both him and his family loomed. And finally, humbled and humiliated, he left an offering of the very last remains of his family's food at the forest's edge. That night he dreamed of small bark-skinned figures with glowing eyes spreading its hands wide. When he woke, His traps were full. Every one had an animal that would become a feast. And from that day on, he honored the spreaders, and his family never went hungry again. Another story tells of a young woman who cared for the sick in her village. The spreaders came to her in dreams as she slept in the forest, teaching her the secrets of herbs, roots, and fungi. She healed her people, but was warned never to boast of her teachers. She kept the secrets, and her people thrived. And even till today, some Abenaki healers say their knowledge about plants and healing funguses come from the whispers of the Kwantew. But the stories of the Kwantew don't end in the past. In the 1970s, a logger in Vermont, near the Huntington Gap, saw a child-sized figure with glowing eyes darting between trees. His chainsaw and other equipment refused to start or work properly, though it had worked fine outside of the forest. That night, he dreamed of little people scattering seeds across the floor of his cabin. In the morning, he found tiny footprints in the sawdust leading into the woods. Hikers in Maine, near Mount Katahdin, report trails twisting back upon themselves, GPS devices failing, and strange whispers riding on the wind. Some even claim to have glimpsed faint figures darting between the trees. And farmers in the area, with fields abandoned or left fallow, speak of crops sprouting overnight in strange patterns, thriving for a time and then withering away, almost as if they were leaving symbols pressed into the soil as a warning. The spreaders are more than just cryptids. They're reminders that the land itself is alive, that balance matters, and that human arrogance carries real-world consequences. Encounters with these strange yet powerful little creatures have been recorded throughout history and closely mirrored those of the Fae of Europe. Their legend endures because their message endures. Treat the earth with respect and it will thrive alongside you. Abuse it and forces beyond your wildest imagination may spread ruin in your life.